Welcome to Flight Pass. My name's Simon. We are overlooking here the battlefield of Ligny. And so we're looking north from the town of Fleurus. And what you're looking at here is the position that Napoleon gets to at 11 o'clock. He's given control of his right flank to Grouchy. Grouchy's orders on the day was to press back the presumably the single corps of Zieten, the Prussian First Corps, and continue pushing them back, presumably down this road here to a place called Gemblot, which is should be here. So this is where Napoleon expected things to pan out. But in the morning, on the 16th, the French pickets starting to probe the Prussian lines along here and realize that they're not moving, they're not pulling back. And Grouchy report sends a message back to Charleroi, to Napoleon, saying we might have a change of plan here. The Prussians seem to be concentrating around Sombref. Napoleon decides to ride up here and gets here at 11 o'clock. He's getting annoyed at the moment as well, Napoleon. There's been some clumsy staff work. Remember, his favoured chief of staff, Berthier, is no longer with him. He didn't. He decided to stay with the King of France, and so he's basically got a guy called Sue to take over his role as chief of staff. And there's been a problem in the morning that Gerard's corps, and Gerard's corps was the one that was coming up the right-hand column. He basically, which is a substantial part of Grouchy's army on this side, had been held up, and even though he's here at 11 o'clock in the morning, Gerard's corps is unlikely to get here for another 2 hours. So Napoleon goes forwards, though, and around here somewhere, it's believed there's a windmill, and he checks out the Prussian deployments. Actually, it's not a windmill. I think this is where he has a platform built. So he has a platform built, quickly made out of I think it was built on top of an old mill site or something like that. He has this quickly built so that he can have a look, and he sees that Blucher is concentrating his army. And to be honest, I think he can't believe his luck. He's been trying to maneuver the two armies of the Allies away from each other, and now he's been given the opportunity to attack the Prussians without them joining up with the Allies. So we've got a situation now where we've got Napoleon in here, and on the other side, remember, we've got Wellington is believed to have met Blucher at this place here called Bry, and so they're looking back this way towards Fleurus, and This is another controversial moment. It's believed, again, it could be that it was written after the event, but Wellington is supposed to have looked at the Prussian deployment in this area and decided that that the Prussian deployment was on a forward slope facing the French, and that it would be exposing his troops to the full force of the French artillery. Now, I'm not sure how much Wellington could see at that time. A lot of this might be 2020 hindsight is a wonderful thing. There's a lot of issues around this. Remember, the crops of the day were much taller. The rye fields, they would be higher than a man, and so this is what the fields looked like. So that provided a lot of cover, as in, like, you literally couldn't see the troops. There's a lot of buildings, as you see around. There's villages, and Ligny was quite a well-built village. And it's believed that Wellington said something like, "Everyone knows his own best, but if I were to fight with mine here, I should expect to be beat. My men like to see the enemy," was Blücher's retort. And when asked by his military attaché what he thought of the Prussian deployment, Wellington replies, "If they fight here, they will be damnably mauled." Now, I think it's probably agreed that this is rubbish, that he never said this. He was covering his back. But what Blücher is getting is the sense that the Wellington's going to come to his aid. So why would Wellington say this if he wasn't, if he thinks this, why didn't he just say, "Look, pull back. We'll pull back. We could come back. You can go to a war I'll go to Waterloo. We just pull back now. We'll have Ziethen's corps continually to do a rear guard action. I can get my Picton division to do the same thing over at Quatre, and we could just pull back. We'll get back to a really good position, and we'll fight Napoleon on our terms." So this doesn't make sense. It sounds like it was written after the event. And it's because after the campaign of Waterloo, there was criticism obviously going around about the nature of the sort of the reaction of Wellington to being humbugged by Napoleon. And the British and many of Wellington's staff would make a thing of the weakness of the position that the Prussians had adopted here at Sombref. But this doesn't ring right. Sombref isn't just a random place picked because it happens to be in the way. This was an agreed position to get to. It's at the end of this road, the communication road between the armies. It's definitely been picked for a specific reason, and possibly it wasn't to be Ligny itself, because we did discuss the other day that Fleurius was a place where Ziethen's corps had got to, and then they were pushed back from it. So maybe you could argue that this the heights here would have been where they wanted to get to. But if you look back, you've got a series of villages, you've got a brook. There are a lot of advantages to this position, as well as some disadvantages. So I think what you've got to do there is assume that the Wellington staff are rewriting history a little bit there. And it's been described as basically a crude attempt to cover for the cautious behaviour of Wellington in the previous 24 hours. The purpose of this, I can't remember who wrote this, but it was basically this position had been agreed to. I think it was on the 3rd of May, and it was specifically picked to accept a defensive battle. So it's not a battlefield that is for offensive nature. It's definitely something to defend, and it wasn't possibly even meant to be a definitive battlefield in the sense that there would be a result here. It could have been that it would be a forward delaying battle rather than an outright win it. More of maybe a suckering in the French at this position, defending it, whilst Wellington then comes sweeping over from the west. And so in order for the Allies to concentrate forwards of Brussels, this road we've mentioned before, which we can see below us here, was essential, because this is a east-west road that joins up between Sombref and Nivelles on this axis. So this is definitely that's something that's been pre-planned. So I hope you enjoy this sort of stuff, by the way. I know sometimes I'm a bit waffly and I repeat myself. The reason why I do this is I've actually was in a process of writing a book, and I'm reading from my notes at the same time. And so there's a lot of sources I've got, and sometimes they repeat each other, repeat themselves. But it just helps me to sort of see the things in context, and just take time over it, really. I'm sure at the end of this long discussion about the Battle of Waterloo, I'll probably just do a quick run through to get the all the just the sort of the general sort of thing for people who just want a quick look at the battlefield. You all right there, guy? And but this helps me to remember bits. Just coming up to the battlefield now, let's just talk a little bit about the actual physical nature of the battlefield. In terms of geography, we've got a series of tributaries in the area which sort of trickle down to this this brook that's called the Ligny. And we'll try and follow this sort of stream. I think you can sort of see it meandering below us here. And this it flows eastwards, this stream, and how it affects the battlefield. It basically means that this area where the stream or the brook is not necessarily a difficult thing to cross, but it makes the land marshy, slow, at least difficult to maneuver artillery over, at least. Now, as you can see, the villages have probably filled out a bit over the years. This is Ligny itself, but the whole battlefield itself is dotted with numerous buildings, which are solid built villages, hamlets, and topographically, it's got a sort of a dome-shaped hill to the north. So we'll just fly back round again, and we'll see if we can see the dome-shaped hill. It was an excellent position for artillery, and I believe we're looking at this. If I try and get the white dot on it, I'll say when. There's this hill here, where the white dot is now. That is sort of a dome to the north of the village, and this is where Prussian artillery is located. It also meant that down this section here, behind this dome, would be an excellent place to hide your infantry. So the argument that Wellington has is that lots of your infantry are exposed. It doesn't really run true. In fact, what actually happens is because the Prussian infantry are concealed so well, Napoleon doesn't think he's facing the whole Prussian army at this point. So in terms of an actual battlefield, it's quite an interesting place, because these little villages are just going to fly back again. I'm going to try and keep in the helicopter for a bit more. It's nice to mix it up a bit. But the little villages on the line of the brook, they act like pinch points. They're like choke points, basically. They have to be taken out, and you'll hear these villages. You'll see these names, Le Monde. I mean, they're some of them are I think Le Monde is just like a farmhouse, basically a complex of farmhouses. But you get these little villages. You can see these ones here. They're just sort of little groups of buildings, but they provide choke points against the French. And the buildings in the villages are mainly cleared, made of stone as well, so they're pretty strong. And so all these little villages, little hamlets and farmhouses have all got to be cleared before any advance can happen. And what you have as well is the villages is like a layered effect. I don't know if you can see that. We'll just come round again. There's the village of Bry is a little bit behind. The main villages are Saint Amand la Haye, Saint Amand itself. I think it's called Ragnelli or Vagnelli. Ligny itself. They're kind of on in a line, and then you have Bry behind it. So there's some sort of like a cover. If you need to retreat, you can do so. And it also means that it delays the attackers having to clear these villages. The brook of the Ligny itself, it tends at the time the eastern end of the brook, so we're talking over this side here towards Tangerine. It tends to get more marshy going that way, so it kind of forces an attack from the left more than from the right. And as we've seen already, you're talking about the villages of Bry. They have a windmill there. There's church spires. There's the hill we just mentioned. These provide excellent observation posts. And the villages themselves are interesting. They're all, as you can see, they're in these little dips. They surrounded by fields at the time. We had hedges. And there was a small wood to the north, to the northwest of. I'm just going to jump out here so we can. Right, so just pan back. So this is Ligny. So as I say, this is the brook is flowing around this village. You can see it here. It also forces the French to have like a dog leg in their dispositions. And the further this way we come, the more marshy it gets. So it makes it difficult to attack. The right flank, coming back here, we can see there's to the northwest of Ligny, which I believe is this sort of area here. We've got woods. We've got small villages surrounded by fields with hedgerows, and as you can see, you've got to fight through these sort of almost semi-urban villages to get there, and you've got a slope at the back to protect your troops. Good observation posts. We've got a windmill here. We've obviously got this dome here, and there was each of the villages. Quite a lot of them have spires as well. What else do we see? Yeah, on the left-hand side, we can come over to this place. It's called, I think it's called Tongrenel and Tongreen. This is a sort of the eastern edge of the battlefield, and these are all, you can see this, how this feature here, this brook runs all the way along the front of the position itself. So again, a very subtle battlefield, something that you shouldn't just dismiss because you feel that the infantry who are standing on these slopes are exposed to the French artillery. But as we were talking about, this to me sounds like a perfect kind of defensive position. If you wanted to make sure that an army is held up as much as possible, this series of villages and slopes and woods and hills and streams and boggy areas seems like a pretty decent position to do it in. Yeah, and I think it might have even been Peter Hofschauer. He actually said that it was picked for one thing in mind, and that is to waste the time of the French. And why? Because you kind of almost want to sucker the French in, draw them in, and then hopefully the Allies using this road here would come in. And of course we're talking coming in from this place called Marbais, but this would be a good place for the Anglo-Dutch to then attack on the flank. Now, it's an interesting debate about the nature of this, because lots of times armies fight like their leaders, and of course Blucher is this sort of known as a sort of impetuous, almost reckless kind of hussar. He was an old warrior. And he's obviously got that sort of aggression in him, and that sort of cavalry officer aggression about him. So that could be why he pushes his army so far forward so quickly to Sombref to get onto the front foot. But that's it's kind of the nature of it. It's an interesting thing, because it's almost an aggressive move forward, concentrating far forwards. Now you're putting pressure on your ally to get to you, because he's, as we discussed the other day, he's got 30 to 70 kilometers of movement to come from this direction to get to here. But it's also a sign, I think, of Gneisenau, and he's much more of a calculating guy. Yes, it's an aggressive forward movement, but it's aggressive forward to be defensive. And that's an interesting sort of combination that you get at this point. And of course, it kind of forces Wellington's hand. Now, we can argue until the cows come home whether he was humbugged or not. But he has to be cautious, Wellington, because if this isn't the main move, if this attack through Charleroi is not the main move, then he is committing his troops over here, and next thing you know, Napoleon is coming up the road from Mons, and he's in behind Wellington's army in Brussels before he can get back. And then his supply lines are cut off, and well, you know, that could be seriously bad news. So again, it's a wonderful discussion. There's so much depth going on, and we haven't even got to the actual battle itself, of the actual fighting itself. But you can see from all we've done here, coming up to this all thing, there is so much to talk about, and I find it absolutely fascinating. And I'll just leave with a couple of letters. Blücher had written to the King of Prussia, and he had said, and this was on the, I think it was on the 15th of June. He had written to the King of Prussia, and he had said he's going to concentrate his army here at Sombref. And in this letter to the King of Prussia, he said he had not received any news from Wellington, so he's going for it. You know, there's an argument that it was way too aggressive, that he should have gone straight to Wavre. You know, he should have headed there, and then Wellington could have gone to Waterloo, and then that would have brought the armies closer together. But for some reason, Blücher decides that this is the place that he needs to get to. There's on that note, then I think we'll wrap this up for the day, and I hope you have enjoyed this. This is the sort of style we do, and I think if you have enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and all that sort of good stuff. We are going to continue chatting like this for a bit, going through my notes. And by the way, if you're wondering, I'm on page 92 of 286. And I think a lot of it at the end is just references, cross references and stuff like that. And the whole idea of this was because I was writing a book about Waterloo, and I haven't written it yet. But this allows me to sort of talk through it to get my head around the space. Guy at the back. Yes, that's right. I think so, yes. There's obviously, you know, there's the Battle of Waterloo, the whole thing is mixed up. The history gets mixed up with what happens later. You remember, Wellington is basically moving into almost a political career afterwards, and so he didn't like having any criticism. And I was just going to try and find. This book here is an example of that. This is actually a proof copy I got when I worked in a shop. This is Wellington's smallest victory. That's a fascinating insight into the Duke of Wellington. It's basically describes a guy. His name was Siborne. He was a lieutenant in the British Army. I believe he was commissioned basically to create a model a war game model of the Battle of Waterloo. And he had chosen a time, I think it was when the old guard was recul, forced back, whatever time that was, about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And he goes around, and this book, by the way, is again by Peter. I do like this guy, Peter. I'm sure I do have other ones. But he's very, very good at doing the German side of the thing. And what's interesting about this is Cyborn at the time had gone around and interviewed a lot of the soldiers and to try to remember exactly where they were at what time. And this is means that this model's built, and when Wellington sees it, he thinks it's given too much credit to the Prussians. But I think that's just the person who pays the bills. Basically, at the end of the day, is accepting the victory. I will, at the end of all this, run through all the books. There's I've got quite a lot of these. This is that one. I mentioned it before. I think this battle book is really, really good. That one's by Alessandro Barbero. If you wanted a good introduction to the Battle of Waterloo, and then this is the book to get. We have old histories. This one's by Hussey. This one's written probably, I think it was in the 1890s. It's quite dry, but it does give the French perspective quite good. Shout out as well to Andrew Field. This is the Battle of Waterloo, but it's from the French perspective. So that's cool. This Peter Hofschrau. Sorry, Peter, if I'm getting your name wrong, by the way. This is another one. This is in his sort of battleground series, but he has got a book on the German victory, 1815, which is very, very good. And we got loads of more. This is only a few I've got here. Battle of Waterloo, Great Battles series. That's by Alan Forrest. We've got first-hand recollections. These are accounts by letters by Ney and all that sort of people. Richard Holmes's book on Wellington. This is the 1815, the German victory by Peter Hofschrauer. That's very, very good. And a lot of the other stuff I get is if it was from the library, the National Library in Wales. And so I've got a whole series of notebooks filled up with information. It was the charge. I took the eagle from the enemy. He and I had a hard contest for it. He made a thrust at my groin, and I parried it off and cut him down through the head. After this, a lancer came at me. I threw the lance off by my right side and cut him through the chin and upwards through the teeth. Next, a foot soldier fired at me and then charged me with his bayonet, which I also had the good luck to parry, and then I cut him down through the head. Thus ended the contest. As I was about to follow my regiment, the general said, "My brave fellow, Take that to the rear. You have done enough till you get quit of it. I took the eagle to the ridge and afterwards to Brussels. I can't even remember who wrote that. Oh, that was from a book, Naylor's book, that was. So I've got loads of little sort of comments, got letters written at the time, newspaper articles, all that sort of stuff. And so these are all these little notes. And these someone asked me the other day whether why or how long I've been studying it, and I've been studying it since I was a kid, to be honest. I mentioned it the other day. The school I went to had a wargaming society, and the first thing we did at the wargaming society was the Battle of Waterloo. And the second thing I think we did was Second World War. So hence we've done D-Day and Napoleonic stuff. So yeah, so that's been probably going on now for 40 years, and you just sort of collect the information up, and you know, it just gets to a point where you've got to sort of do something with it. So this is why we're here. We're using this wonderful tool which we get these days, something that you wouldn't be able to do in real life. Being able to fly around these places, even with live weather on, as you can see, the changing weather here. And so that's what we do. So I hope you have enjoyed it, and we will carry on again probably tomorrow. I'll be back on Twitch. So remember, on Twitch you can follow. Now remember that for some reason it's really important that I get to 80 followers. I don't know why, but Twitch says it is important. So if you can follow, that'd be great. If you're looking on YouTube, it'd be really nice if you could like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. The music you're hearing in the different bits is my music. So if you can find E. Paraton, go to Bandcamp or Spotify or YouTube, or yeah, got all these different places, and you can play it. Like it, that will be great too, and it just encourages me to carry on doing it. And for the plans in the future, we're going to finish Waterloo probably over the next few weeks. And then the next project will be the Falklands War. Okay, I'll hope you had a good time, and I'll see you next